coming to you live in Warsaw on the second day of the second stage of the 2025 Chopin Piano Competition. My name is Rachel Naomi KUDO, and this is our first intermission break. I'm thrilled to be joined by pianist and guest Tony YIKE Yang, who in 2015 made history being the youngest prize winner ever in this prestigious competition. Thank you so much, Tony, for your time. And I understand you have been traveling all over the world. You were in Warsaw a couple days ago, but then you went to Singapore, and then you even went to India for 26 hours, and then you made it back here, and then tomorrow, right, you're departing?
Yes,
again.
Tomorrow evening I am departing again.
Back to?
Yeah, back to India. I started a recital tour a couple days ago, and I have a few days free, and so, why not come here and join a little bit in on the festivities. So
that's great. Well, I can imagine you might have a little bit of jet lag or travel fatigue, but being back here, and 10 years ago, you were on that stage performing, and of course, you won a wonderful prize, and you were only 16 years old. How does it feel to be back here? Do you have, I'm sure you have many memories. What does it feel like? Can you remember anything in particular?
Oh, absolutely. So many things. I think especially just being here in this building, and we just listened to a wonderful, wonderful performance as well from out here. All of this kind of really brings back a lot of deep memories from the competition, all the nerves, all the waiting that happens, for the results and for, to play on stage, and, but I think it's really electric. It's really electric. It's so inspiring to be back here, and, I really wish everyone all the best.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned you're of course here also in 2021, I remember.
Yeah.
And now you're in 2025, and you feel there's a difference. Maybe 4 years ago, right after COVID.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, in some ways, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, but I feel a little bit more actually immediate to this competition. Perhaps so many friends taking part in the competition, but also at the same time, now we're already, a few years, away from the pandemic, and for me it's, 10 years, and I've been also, I think, having a lot of self-reflection over this period. It's been just such an interesting time, for me, listening to the performances from online, but then as well as just to be here, really, it's such a pleasure.
You mentioned it feels a little more immediate, and that you have many friends actually competing, so that's why you feel a little bit maybe
Yes, I can feel the nerves.
The nerves.
I would say that I feel the nerves a bit more this time than I did 4 years ago when I was also, attending, and I also had some friends competing there, but I think it was just, we were just coming out of pandemic, so everything was so relaxed and such. This time is a little different. Of course, the production is bigger than ever. The studio is as magnificent as always.
I just wanted to touch also on the friendships you formed, like you mentioned, also from 2015.
Yes.
So we know that you and Eric, Liu, Kate Liu, Sungjin Cho was here just giving some support to Eric, right?
Yes, and just
How
for
was
fun.
that?
And
you bonded over some concerts, I'm sure, and the time you spent together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're so lucky to, I guess, still remain very good friends after all these years, and I do really credit this to the Japan and Korea tour that we had the January and February right after the competition. Of course, I was still very young back then, so I think I'm a little
You were the baby.
Hopefully a little more mature now.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, we do keep in touch over the years, and of course I'm such a big fan of all of their playing, and non-laureates as well from our audition, and I try to, whenever I'm in town, I'm nearby, I try to attend their concerts, and just to keep this dialogue going, because oftentimes, as you know, piano career, once you have a career, especially if you have a full-fledged career, it's so lonely. It's really so lonely, and you're always in your bubble. But I think to have that perspective, of listening to other musicians, listening to other schools of thought, and etc., can be so inspiring. Yeah.
Oh, so that's wonderful. You inspire each other. Well, you're all such amazing musicians and pianists. And so young. It's just so exciting to hear, and of course know you all. You touched on studying and being inspired in different places in different ways. And of course, 10 years ago you were 16, so I imagine high school. And since then you've attended university.
Yes.
You actually studied economics at Harvard.
I did, yes.
And you are so modest because you told me before that in the competition itself you didn't expect anything, that both you and your teacher were surprised about the results, which I think you're being far too modest because obviously you're extremely gifted. But then I also was wondering how you decided about your college education, because of course that's a very big decision for any adult young person. Could you tell us?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I always just grew up with kind of a full-fledged education. You know, I was always going to school, normal school. And then, I think, I mean, previous to going to the competition, I didn't really have, much expectation. And so it really just, the prize came into my life unannounced, let's put it that way. And that really forced me to, kind of reconsider my life a bit. But the goal was always to kind of, go to university. And in the end, I did, apply to both conservatories and universities. But I kind of limited my, choice of universities I'd apply to. If I got into them, I would go, great, I would go. And if not, then I would just go to a conservatory and, be more kind of, one,
focused,
focused in that way. And so I was very lucky to get into Harvard, and I just, kind of wanted to see what that was like. And I think, honestly, when you're 16, 17, 18, or even if you're in your early 20s, it's so hard to make a decision of what you want to be in your life. And I think that we have so much pressure nowadays to do that. But life is so long, and it's, so many
unpredictable,
unpredictable, so many things to explore. And I think that, just staying curious in that regard has at least helped me very much.
I love that. To stay curious, I think that's such an important thing, and to keep an open mind, right, open heart. Are there any parallels studying, for example, like analysis data in economics with like interpreting a score? Do they help each other?
I think it's really far-fetched. I was telling you about supply and demand and versus robot. But I think that's very far-fetched.
Yeah.
But I do think that just exposing yourself to different things in life gives you a wider range of experiences.
Of course,
And this wider range of experiences can in turn enrich you as a person, which I think would enrich you as a player.
Well, hopefully human being, yes.
As a human being, and so that's what I would, say.
And this is a beautiful segue to some recent work of yours, which really fascinates me. So in the recent years, you were telling me that you've been inspired to do a little bit of outreach, community, philanthropic work, if you will, and working with nonprofits. Could you tell us about that? Because I think it's a lovely thing to do.
They say music is a universal language. So I kind of wanted to, for lack of a better phrase to say it, put that to the test.
Okay.
And then I think also, I'm just in general a very, very curious person. And, I think music should be for everyone. And so I've done, some work in prisons, quite a bit of work in prisons, with visually impaired youth, especially in China, as well as, I guess, really going into emerging markets.
Which would be Africa?
Yeah, Southeast Asia, Africa, Middle East, South America, parts of South America.
And how do you see classical music, in its role? I mean, I imagine it would be different in each culture and each continent.
I think when you perform for such different audiences, I think you start to get a bit more perspective on what music is really about.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the emotional arc, or the spirit, or the soul of the music. At least that's what I believe. And I've been just so inspired also by the audience members themselves. Some of them, of course, in prison, they're not all so exposed, to classical music at all, some of them. But then, for me to challenge myself to think from that, bigger art kind of perspective, and to see the reaction and the kind of lives you, I guess, impact. It's really meaningful. It's very, very touching, and it's kind of grounded me in why I am doing music in the first place.
To bring people together.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
to move people.
And to just bring a bit of love, to bring a bit of, just what we lack a bit these days, a bit of love, a bit of this vulnerability, intimacy, and
I love how you mentioned when, especially I guess when you go to the prisons, how you see the music visibly change people. They open up.
Yeah.
They become more vulnerable and they let their guard down.
Yeah.
Do you think there's something in Chopin particular, perhaps, when you play his music?
Yes, I think Chopin is such a sincere, a communicative composer. Of course, he's so many other phenomenal things, but his music is, above all, very, very human. Very human. And I've played quite a bit of Chopin in prison. Actually, recently, earlier this year, I was doing the Opus 61, which is the,
wow, yeah, everybody's favorite.
Everyone's favorite this year.
Yes, is it your favorite?
Yes. I must admit, I think I had no idea what I was doing when I first began the piece, but after playing it over time, I think I've come to find my own kind of dialogue with it. And then also the B minor sonata, I've also been doing quite a bit in
the whole
yes,
third sonata. Wow.
Yes, the whole third sonata, and yeah, it is really that kind of music where it's so deep, yet it is easier to listen to than most others.
And of course, this is so different from concert halls, right?
Yes,
where you
sure.
have a grand piano, because
Yes.
I can imagine maybe sometimes you're on upright pianos or keyboards.
Not really. So the amazing thing that this charity that I work with, they're called Looking at the Stars, and their goal is to deliver really the best
I see. Okay.
in prisons. And so they do that with the artists. So the first artist who actually did perform for this charity was actually Lucas Genusius from 2010.
Yes.
And then they also make an effort to rent really the best piano that they have. So we had Steinway D in prisons in Minnesota. So,
Oh wow, goodness.
yeah, because I think you really need just the to give that kind of at least effort in order to
Yes, I
make the
understand.
biggest impact.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I think that everybody there will get the best of you with the best conditions, just like you said. Being back here, and you again, you have friends competing, and you feel a little bit of the stress. But if there's one piece of advice you could give to them, what would it be?
I guess I think
And anyone inspiring to maybe compete one day here, or to become a pianist, or
absolutely. I think music is just so beautiful, and sometimes because of competitions and because of how competitive this world is, I think we fall into a bit of a this fetishization, over interpretation, and I think sometimes we just need to really step back, get some perspective, and appreciate how beautiful this music is. The essence of this music. We are playing because we love Chopin. We are not playing because this bass was not as clear, or this was
Yes.
blah blah blah. And I think that it's just important to really love the music and to breathe the music and to live for it, to be really in the moment. And I wish that sometimes everyone sometimes in life would just kind of step back a bit, get a bit more perspective. Life is big, life is generous. And I really think everyone has their own individual voice. There's no need to compare too much, but really just to foster your own relationship with the music. And I think once you do that, actually as a byproduct,
Yes.
miraculous things come out.
Yes, and of course, Bartok said that competition is not for pianists, it's for horses.
Yes.
But like you said, that the most beautiful thing is that we get the chance to share
Yes.
our music and present ourselves to the whole world.
Yeah.
Who is listening and watching with curiosity, hope, and enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
And support.
Yeah.
So, Tony, thank you so much for your time between your insanely busy travels. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to see you again.
And tonight, also our wonderful guest will be Garrick Olson, our jury chair, and of course the winner of the Chopin competition in 1970. So please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the performances in the second round.